What's up? The lyrical, miracle, spiritual, sarcastical, satirical Ozzy here. And just a couple days ago, we had Offset dropping this long ass Instagram post celebrating the 6-year anniversary of the Migos mixtape, Young Rich Nigga, aka YRN. And in this post, he goes on saying how they changed the game for everyone's favorite artist and how they made it possible for a lot of rappers to have, quote, a life in this game, and they deserve thanks for it. Whether you agree, kind of agree, or 100% disagree, I just want to give an introspective and breakdown, analysis, or overview, or whatever makes me sound smarter on the YRN album by the Migos. So before the major project, we had two mixtapes, In Jug Season and No Label. Both of these projects show a really unrecognizable group, with most of the records off the album sounding nothing like anything the Migos would later put out. They were still trying to find their own style and sound, and throughout these projects you get hints of what the Migos would be / could be. For example, the record Bando was one of their biggest songs at the time, and is the closest at the time to what the Migos would later sound like. It was even a single on the YRN project due to how popular it was. Even though it was a popular song for the Migos, they had a ton of detractors. It's hard to believe now because of how loved they are, but around this time a lot of people disliked the Migos, and they hated their style and the stuff they rapped about. Funnily enough, the Migos were seen as how SoundCloud rappers / mumble rappers are seen today. They were criticized for their repetitive sound and superficial lyrics, and even for their, quote, famous Migos flow. It's funny how now they're praised and loved for the same reasons they were once hated for. This record is a Migos song in and out, talking about Bando, and if it dropped today, it would be praised by everyone because it sounds, looks, smells, tastes, and feels exactly like how a Migos record would feel like. But at the time, it was scrutinized because it wasn't this established sound that it is now. But the Migos stuck with what they know and stayed consistent, and as a result, they are very successful to this day. There's a life lesson in there for you virgin nerds. Don't get me wrong, the record wasn't universally hated. On the other side, you obviously had people gravitating to it and wanting more of this record. At the time, it was their biggest record and was getting a lot of traction. The fans were craving more of these type of records from the Migos. So they continued with this formula and gave everyone the YRN mixtape. It dropped June 13, 2013. It had 18 tracks with a bonus one, including the We Ready remix featuring Soulja Boy. And throughout this project, you don't have that many features, with the most notable being the earlier mentioned Soulja Boy, as well as Riff Raff, Trinidad James, and Gucci Mane. The production had Migos locking in with Atlanta super producer Zaytoven, which actually did a lot for the Migos sound. This album peaked the hip-hop and R&B album charts at 74. The single that was kept into the release of the YRN was the aforementioned Bando, and if Bando was the Migos learning how to walk, then their song Versace was the Migos running. The standout hit off the album, produced by Zaytoven, the Migos breakout record. Again, it follows the formula that we've seen hints of. The Migos' whole, quote, triplet flow is on full display with this record. Jumping on the popularity of this record, we have Drake getting on the remix, giving it the good old Drake stimulus package, and this viral song peaked at the Billboard Hot 100s at number 99. Media outlets around hip-hop also praised this song, like Double XL saying it was a top song of that year. But the YRN album wasn't just a one-hit album. It wasn't just carried by Versace. You also had other records like Hannah Montana, Chinatown, and many more that showed the Migos weren't just one-hit wonders. With this tape, they kicked the door down and had a great showing. Critically, they garnered a lot of positive reviews, with Rolling Stone putting it in their top 10 best mixtapes of 2013 at number 3. Meanwhile, Pitchfork gives it a 7.4, saying, quote, YRN finds Migos perfecting their sound even as they bristle at it, and the tape rarely delivers anything resembling a failure, end quote. After this mixtape, we got tons of projects, and just recently we got a solo project from the trio, and even though this isn't their first mixtape, it's the one that jump-started their careers, in my opinion. They even made a sequel to this, although it wasn't received that well or it wasn't that popular, but personally I can't name one song off that project. But this album set, or mixtape, whatever you want to call it, set the precedent for what we could expect from a Migos project. So going back to Offset's Instagram post where he says, a lot of artists sound like 2013's Migos, and how the Migos took all the proverbial arrows in the knees just so the new rappers can, quote, have life in this game. Personally, I don't know who pioneered this or invented this sound. I'm not no flowologist, so I have no idea. What I do know is that the Migos in recent memory popularized this sound, as well as other Atlanta artists like Future or whoever you want to give credit to. On the last of his posts of Offset's, he does have a point with how new artists are praised for what the Migos early on in their career would be criticized for. To me, it's because the Migos kept moving forward with this sound. They kept making hits, and eventually they became stars. But giving them solely credit is a bit overdramatic when you have other artists that also were pushing that line at the time. But this album is only 6 years, so who knows, maybe in the future we'll see how Offset sees it, or maybe we'll disagree with him even more. But while personally I don't consider this album a classic like Culture One, it doesn't take away the importance of this album. Out of all their projects, I can see this or Culture One being their most important album. On a side note, there is a difference between important and best. This album, again, it's arguably one of their most important albums. This album is the big bang for the Migos. It started their run. It had one of their hottest songs on there. It set the foundation for what we would hear in the future Migos projects. So let me know what you think about this album and its importance. Like, comment, sub. I'm Ozzy and I'm out.